Welcome to Llangorse Lake. Let's see where we are. The lake is about 5 miles east of Brecon, in Vice County 42, Breconshire. To the west are the Brecon Beacons, and to the east the Black Mountains, and offers Dyke, the border with Herefordshire and England. Nearby, the River Usk flows south into Monmouthshire, reaching the coast at Newport, where the wetlands and levels hold important dragonfly populations. This is part of a map by local historian and artist Roger Rees. Llangorse Lake, shaped rather like Africa, was formed by moraine debris deposited by a glacier some 12,000 years ago. It is the second largest natural water body in Wales after Bala Lake. Gerald of Wales, in the account of his visit in 1188, tells stories about the place. The water turning bright green or blood red, buildings and gardens appearing to cover the lake, a horrible groaning sound when it is frozen. There are historic remains, notably a crannog, an artificial island dwelling from about 800 AD, and a modern reconstruction of how one of the houses might have looked. This is a good viewpoint, and across the lake is a fine bird hide of oak with a reed thatch. The lake and much of its surrounds are privately owned. Public access is by a trail between Lakeside in the northwest corner and a small car park below Llangasty Church. The trail is marked by yellow dashes on the map. Lakeside, on the edge of Llangorse village, has a shop, cafe, caravan site and boat hire. There's an outdoor activities camp. Particularly on weekends and the summer holidays, Lakeside can be very popular. There is a flourishing sailing club. The lake has a reputation for large pike. Gerald of Wales mentioned them in his visit, so anglers are often out in boats. Launching and landing are only permitted at Lakeside. There are markers to keep boats from too much disturbance of wildlife, and use of motorboats, including water skiing, is controlled. This is the view from Lakeside towards Pen y Fan, the highest of the Brecon Beacons, on one of those days when, if you can see the hills, it's going to rain. If you can't see them, it's raining. And here we are at the other end of the lake trail, looking over the shingle point to Llangorse. The lake is shallow, with a wide fringe of reeds and water lilies. Its importance for wildlife is well recognised. It is an SSSI and special area of conservation, with wardening and management advice by Brecon Beacons National Park Authority. Beyond this end of the trail, the land around the lake is private and managed as a nature reserve. I've been visiting the lake regularly since my wife and I moved to Brecon in autumn 2007. In 2008, British Dragonfly Society started putting out maps showing progress towards coverage for the coming atlas. For Llangorse Lake and nearly all of Breconshire, there was no information since before 2000, so there was much to discover. The first big surprise was finding great numbers of variable damselflies, a species which had been scarce on my former patch of Stenning and Beeding Brooks in the Ada Valley, Sussex. On some days from mid-May into early June, I've struggled to estimate the numbers of variable damselflies, running into the thousands. They have a short flying season. This map from the Dragonfly Atlas shows how Llangorse can stand out as a sort of oasis for dragonflies, including variable damselfly, which has been lost from many other places. Common blue damselfly emerges at about the same time, and also in hundreds or thousands on some days. It has a much longer flight season. Azure and large red damselflies, generally common and widespread, are far fewer at the lake, and I don't know why. There are blue-tailed damselflies too. Black-tailed skimmer, typically loafing on a rock at Llangorse or on the muddy bank of the slipway at Lakeside. This can be one of the easier dragonflies to photograph when it returns to a favourite base. Male emperors hold territories spread around the trail, patrolling the outlet stream and often hunting out across the fields. This is a species which has clearly extended its range, shown in the atlas as a recent gain since 2000 at Llangorse and many other sites in Wales. Broad-bodied and four-spotted chasers are present in small numbers through the summer, most noticeable when the lake water level is high, with warm, shallow floods into the fields. Golden ring dragonfly is present in small numbers. It's more typical of pools and streams in the hills, with three other species which are not found at the lake: keeled skimmer, common hawker, and black darter. One or two beautiful and banded demoiselles turn up each season. When I've seen rather more in some years, I've suspected that banded demoiselle might breed along the outlet stream. Both occur nearby on the River Usk. Common darter is present in small numbers from midsummer well into the autumn, sometimes the last species to be seen. Migrant hawker. Llangorse is a good place to see them between August and October, and I estimate that the total around the lake can run into hundreds. Among them are a few southern hawkers, and near the bird hide, hobbies fly out from the woodland fringe to hunt hawkers and darters over the reed beds. So far, I've mentioned the 15 species I'd seen by the time the Dragonfly Atlas was published in 2014. In June that year, I was surprised to find a couple of hairy dragonflies, and I've seen just a few every summer since. When Breconshire Wildlife Trust celebrated its 50th birthday, I looked back at the Trust's history and found a list of Breconshire dragonflies in its first newsletter, and that included hairy dragonfly. The Atlas map shows it as previously recorded here before 1991 and stable along much of the South Wales coast. Also in 2014, I added emerald damselfly and brown hawker to my list. And scarce blue-tailed damselfly, a species I knew from small pools and streams in the hills, but did not expect here. The lake's outflow is quite small, and the water level varies. It often swells to flood some fields in winter, less often in summer. This maintains rich transitional habitats. In June 2014, and again in July 2021, there was very shallow, warm water across one of the meadows, and this was where I found scarce blue-tails. Her body shows traces of the fine silt in the temporary flood. The lake is naturally eutrophic, and there have been problems from the entry of extra nutrients. Last summer, there was a blue-green algal bloom. Natural Resources Wales regularly tests water quality. The surrounds of the lake are carefully managed, but pollution here and in our rivers really needs to be addressed at landscape scale. The next edition was a single male red-eyed damselfly in 2017. I'd often scanned lily pads in the hope of this species, and once took out a rowing boat with Bob Dennison, the Radnorshire recorder, to see what we could find that way. This is a species which has clearly expanded its range. I look forward to seeing small red-eyed here soon. "2018 brought ruddy data. Again, the first sighting was of a single male, followed by more in the following years. I have been struck by the way in one field, up to 8 males are evenly spaced, guarding adjacent territories along the lake edge. I've yet to see a female. Nor have I seen scarce chaser, but Mark Waldron took these photos of a female and a male near the outflow stream at Lakeside in 2020, and a male the following year. The atlas showed no recent records from Wales, but dramatic expansions in Gloucestershire and Worcestershire since 2004. So the Llangorse Lake list has grown by 7 species since 2014. As a large and rather isolated water body, it is a good place to see how dragonfly ranges are expanding. It also has a range of attractions and facilities for visitors, and British Dragonfly Society saw it as a suitable place for recognition as a dragonfly hotspot. The Llangorse Lake Advisory Group brings together key people and organisations to consider and balance the various responsibilities and interests. I found warm support there for the hotspot idea. COVID lockdown regulations delayed our plans, but this July we held a launch event at Lakeside. We set up a row of tents from the Wildlife Trust of South and West Wales, the Biodiversity Information Service for Powys and the Breconshire National Park, our local Environmental Records Centre, the National Park Authority, and British Dragonfly Society with Eleanor Culver, Lauren Kennedy, and Brian Walker. It was a lovely warm day, and lake dipping was popular with all ages. I now have a small informal team to help organise hotspot activities. This summer we had a public dragonfly walk and visited the village school. Ideas for next year include an illustrated talk in the community centre, with more outdoor activities to follow. This is our hotspot information board. I'd like to thank BDS staff and the generous donors for its production. I hope you've enjoyed this visit to my favourite wildlife patch. Much of Breconshire is hill country, and the highest peaks are in the Brecon Beacons National Park. Pools, streams and bogs hold dragonfly species not found at Llangorse Lake. This is a favourite view of Pen y Fan, the highest summit of the Beacons, seen from Minnetilted, about 5 miles southwest of Brecon. Fine views and open access make the common a popular space for country walks. Many people start from the visitor centre and cafe. There are several pools. The largest is Traethbach at the west end of the site, and this is a most attractive place to find dragonflies. Traethmawr, the Great Bog, is in a hollow formed by an Ice Age glacier, then colonised by plants which formed peat. It is thought that a large amount of peat was cut here before coal replaced it as a fuel. It is now a dangerous swamp, and local people can tell tales of livestock being swallowed up. But it is an important site for wildlife, part of an SSSI. Along its edge flows the shallow Camley stream. Scarce blue-tailed damselfly is the most notable species here, classified in the red data list as near threatened. The pools and the slow-flowing stream provide the warm, shallow water that it likes, and it finds similar conditions at other sites in the Breconshire hills. The orange or Antiocha form of the immature female is very striking. Turning green when she becomes mature. Males will mate with orange immatures as well as mature green females. Eggs are laid on water plants, and she will sometimes descend underwater to the bed of the stream. Larvae take a year to develop, with peak emergence in June. Blue-tailed damselflies are here as well, and this female variety can cause some identification confusion, especially when her tail end is obscured by silt after ovipositing. The longer diamond shape of the wing spots is useful. Like scarce blue-tailed damselfly, keeled skimmer is a species with a largely southern and western distribution, and in areas heathland with shallow waters. Males hold small territories with favourite perches, often hold their wings tilted forward. This female is freshly emerged, the wings shiny with pale pterostigma. And this is an older individual. After mating and resting, the female lays eggs in flight by dipping her abdomen to the water surface. Larvae take 2 years to develop. In mating, the female's legs rub off some of the blue preenescence on the male's abdomen. Black darters like the mossy edges of acidic waters. Females are strikingly coloured. Males start off with similar appearance, becoming more and more black as they mature. This dark coloration helps to absorb heat as they bask in the sunshine. Common darters live alongside black darters around the Traithbark pool. And just once, in July 2018, a ruddy darter turned up, in the same summer as the first sightings at Llangorse Lake. Fast-flying male common hawkers patrol the Camley stream, clashing where their stretches meet. Emperors, southern hawkers, and golden-ringed dragonflies add to the competition. The acidic waters in this landscape of bogs and open heathland are typical habitat for common hawkers. The name can confuse people who give it to southern hawkers at their garden ponds. She lays eggs in the vegetation of the shallow stream and the margins of the pools. Larvae grow slowly to emerge after 2 or 3 years. The dumpy nymph of a four-spotted chaser is a bottom dweller, living for 2 years among rotting plant material. On some sunny days in midsummer, dozens of four-spotted chasers at Traithbark live up to their name with much clashing and grabbing. The atlas shows the species as widespread and increasing, found in a wide variety of water habitats. Golden ring dragonfly is typical of the Breconshire hills and one photographed and noted by walkers who may not otherwise record dragonflies. The female has a remarkable pointed ovipositor for stabbing eggs into the edge of the water. Is this why dragonflies have been called horse stingers? In nutrient-poor streams, larvae may take up to 5 years to develop. This is the Traithbach pool in good condition, when on a fine day there could be 100 dragonflies and many damselflies of several species. And here it is in August this year, almost totally dry. The Camley stream can be very good for dragonflies. But this summer it dried completely. Small pools on Milthilted do dry out in some years, but never before have I seen the stream disappear. It looks as if climate change is going to be an increasing threat to the wildlife of small and shallow water bodies in the beacons. And drought is not the only problem. Lovely Breconshire Pool, formerly an SSSI and nature reserve with breeding water birds and a black-headed gull colony, was a fine site for dragonflies. It has been taken over by crassula, which has nearly smothered the whole pool and has resisted attempts to remove it. At least one of the pools on Milthilted has the same problem. I have good memories of Breconshire Pool when it was in fine condition. In 2009, I found red-veined darters, a rare sight in mid-Wales. The River Wye contributes 2 more species to the current Breconshire total of 28. The Mullen near Hay-on-Wye, a popular site conserved by local volunteers, is a good place to see white-legged damselfly. Common clubtail is here too, although I have yet to find it. Most records coming from diligent searching of the other side of the river in Radnorshire. The Wye and the Usk also have beautiful and banded demoiselles. These have been famous rivers for fishing, but lately more notorious for their poor condition, pollution and weed growth, not helped by low flows this summer. So Breconshire is a county of fine landscapes with rich wildlife including dragonflies, but not without its problems. As a recorder, I have a close relationship with my local environmental record centre. Ben Mullen has a few words to say about its activities.
Heath mentioned in his super talks that his records go to BIS. If you record dragonflies, indeed any wildlife, in Powys and the Brecon Beacons National Park area, your records will come to us, the Biodiversity Information Service for Powys and Brecon Beacons National Park. BIS is one of 4 local environmental record centres in Wales, and we work collaboratively to support wildlife recorders and encourage wildlife recording, and to collate these records and make them available to people who use them in decision making through the All Wales Wildlife Database called ADERIN. Anyone can be a biological recorder. You don't need to be an expert. As long as you can accurately identify something, you can record it. All records help put wildlife on the map, and for Llangorse Lake helped identify it as Wales's first dragonfly hotspot. These are the locations of the 108 records at Llangorse Lake, we have in the Aderin database for the last 10 years of the 22 species recorded during this time. Most of them are Keiths, which shows the value of having a knowledgeable BIS county recorder. There are lots of ways to record dragonflies and all wildlife, along with sending records to your local BIS county recorder or via the British Dragonfly Society website. There is the iRecord app, the iRecord website, and for recording in Wales, we have our Lurk Wales app, which is bilingual. All feed into iRecord and are available for the local environmental record centres to download and add to their databases. And if your local BIS county recorder or Dragonfly verifier is signed up to iRecord as a verifier, they will see the Dragonfly records in their area and are able to verify them. Adding a photo, if you're able to take one, is really helpful in the verification process. All these methods enable anyone to be a recorder and help put wildlife and dragonflies on the map.
Thanks, Ben. Now I'm happy to try and answer any of your questions.